The stars stretched across the void like scattered diamonds, silent and distant. In the heart of this endless expanse floated the human outpost, Eden 3, a small hub of steel and glass clinging to a dying red star. It was far from Earth, far from the bustling cities that had raised the first explorers into space, and far from the eyes of those who believed humans were weak. Among those watching humans now was Seraphine Vera, an Aelari diplomat whose species had ruled star systems for thousands of years. The Aelari were tall and graceful, with skin that shimmered faintly under starlight and eyes that seemed to reflect centuries of knowledge. Seraphine's reputation was one of wisdom, decisiveness, and caution, traits that had kept her people secure and respected across the galaxies. Yet as she approached Eden 3, she felt a quiet curiosity tinged with skepticism. Her log had already captured her assumptions. Humans are charming, clever, and persistent, yet they lack the essential quality of a warrior. They survive through diplomacy and luck, not strength or strategy. The docking bay doors opened with a soft hiss. Seraphine's ship glided inside, its metallic sheen reflecting the pale lights of Eden 3. On the platform stood humans, not soldiers, not guards, but ordinary men and women moving with calm efficiency. They carried tools, not weapons. They exchanged greetings in warm voices, their smiles steady even under the weight of responsibility. Her eyes immediately fell on Captain Elias Ward, the outpost's commander. He was a human of average height, with dark hair that fell just above thoughtful brown eyes. Unlike the others, he did not rush to greet her formally. Instead, he observed silently, a faint, patient smile on his face. Seraphine found this irritating. The Aelari valued confidence and display. Humans valued patience, and in her mind, patience without skill was a weakness. "Welcome to Eden 3, Seraphine Vera," Elias said, his voice steady and calm. There was no hesitation, no nervousness, just words spoken with quiet certainty. Seraphine stepped forward, her long robes gliding across the platform. "Captain Ward," she replied, bowing lightly as protocol demanded. "Your outpost is functional. I see your people are cooperative." Elias chuckled softly. "We have to be. The star is dying and resources are limited. Cooperation is survival." Her gaze swept over the humans again. They were busy repairing panels, checking sensors, and cataloging readings. They were methodical, careful, and seemingly unafraid of the void outside. Yet she remained unconvinced. To the Aelari, true warriors were those who could face danger boldly without hesitation and impose control over it. Humans, she thought, only seemed brave because they did not understand the stakes. As the day progressed, Seraphine observed the outpost in detail. She followed Elias through corridors lined with instruments and screens. He paused to help a young engineer fix a power coupler. She noted how gently he guided her fingers when adjusting a delicate component, how patiently he explained the mechanics to someone clearly struggling. Her log reflected her judgment. Human leadership is not based on dominance. They lead by example, by kindness, admirable yet insufficient for survival in the wider galaxy. That evening, Seraphine attended a brief ceremony welcoming her to Eden 3. The humans offered a meal prepared with care, sharing food and conversation. She noted how they listened to each other, how disagreements were handled without harsh words or conflict. Everything was orderly, calm, precise, and still, she thought, no warrior walks among them. As night fell over the outpost, the dying red star cast a soft copper glow across the metallic domes. Seraphine walked alone along the observation deck, gazing at the swirling nebulae in the distance. She pondered her people's history, their conquests, their control over countless worlds. The Aelari had survived because they had strength, because they had cunning, because they had warriors who would never falter. Humans, she believed, could never match that. It was then that she noticed Captain Ward walking toward her. He moved with calm assurance, but there was something about his posture that suggested thoughtfulness, a readiness for action that belied his peaceful demeanor. "Beautiful night," he said, stopping a few paces away. His gaze followed hers to the distant stars. "Yes," Seraphine replied softly, "though I wonder how long any civilization could last orbiting a dying star." Ward turned to her, his expression unreadable. "We adapt," he said simply. "We have no choice." Seraphine tilted her head. The words were simple, almost trivial, but something in the human's tone caught her off guard. There was no fear, no hesitation, just certainty. "You are confident," she said, testing him. "Yet this is not your home. This star will die soon, and when it does, you will be nothing." Elias shook his head, a small smile playing at the corners of his lips. "Not nothing," he replied. "We will be what we always are. People who try, who care, who never give up. That is our strength." Seraphine considered his words, though she did not respond. To the Ilari, survival was about power and preparation. Humans relied on hope. She found it both naive and fascinating. Over the next few days, Seraphine joined the humans on routine missions, scanning nearby asteroids, repairing satellites, and gathering samples from the star's dying corona. Everywhere she went, she observed Elias's leadership. He did not command loudly. He suggested, guided, and demonstrated. He remained calm even when alarms sounded unexpectedly, and though she expected fear or hesitation among the crew, they followed him willingly, trusting his judgment implicitly. One day, during a minor solar flare that disrupted communications, she witnessed him take control of the situation. Equipment was failing, warnings were flashing. Most humans might have panicked. But Elias moved with a quiet precision, issuing instructions clearly, prioritizing the safety of others over his own. Seraphine's eyes narrowed, curiosity replacing skepticism. "You handle danger well for one so ordinary," she said later, unable to hide her intrigue. Elias shrugged. "We do what we must," he replied. "Every time something threatens us, we figure out how to survive. That's all any of us can do." And yet, even as he spoke, she noticed the faint lines of worry etched into his face. Not fear of himself, but concern for those under his care. In that moment, she began to sense something she had not expected. Humans were capable of courage unlike her people's definition of strength. It was quieter, subtler, yet somehow unyielding. That night, she recorded in her log, "Humans may have technology, may have heart, may have hope. But they have no warriors. They survive not by power but by persistence. It is admirable, yet insufficient." She did not know that this conclusion was about to be challenged, because far beyond Eden 3, in the darkness of the void, a signal had awakened, subtle, almost imperceptible, but unmistakably a call for help. And when it reached the outpost, it would test every assumption she had made about humans' courage and what it truly meant to stand as a warrior. As Seraphine stood on the observation deck, watching the red star flicker, she felt a flicker of unease. Perhaps humans were more than they seemed. Perhaps, just perhaps, the universe had a lesson waiting for her. And at that moment, Captain Elias Ward entered the deck once more. His calm gaze met hers, and without a word, she felt the quiet certainty of someone who faced the unknown without hesitation. A warrior, perhaps not by her definition, yet something far more profound. Seraphine turned away from the stars, her mind racing with new questions. She did not yet know how or why or when, but she could sense the universe preparing to prove her wrong. And that was when she understood. Sometimes, the greatest strength was not in the body or the weapon, but in the heart and the spirit. The alarm blared softly across Eden 3, cutting through the calm hum of the outpost. Red lights flickered along the corridors, casting long, anxious shadows. For the first time in weeks, the humans seemed tense, but it was not panic. It was careful alertness, the kind born of training and experience. Seraphine Vera, standing in the observation bay, frowned. Her ship had docked in the outpost only days ago, and already she had begun to reconsider her assumptions about humans. Yet she still believed their courage was limited. Enough to survive minor inconveniences, but nothing that truly tested a warrior. She was about to learn how wrong she was. The source of the alarm was a distress signal from a nearby human colony, just beyond the outer asteroid belt. The signal was faint, irregular, and full of static. The crew had never encountered anything like it before. Seraphine tilted her head, watching as Captain Elias Ward approached the main console. He did not hesitate. "Prepare the exploration vessel," he instructed calmly. "We leave in 5 minutes," Seraphine blinked. "You intend to respond to that signal?" "The storm in that region is unstable. Your ship will be torn apart if you attempt travel." Elias's brown eyes met hers. "Then we adapt," he said simply. "We always do." The diplomat's log trembled with disbelief. "They rush toward danger rather than away from it. They are reckless. yet she could not look away. In the 5 minutes it took the crew to prepare, she observed a remarkable rhythm. Humans moved with efficiency, helping one another, checking systems, confirming calculations. Each member of the crew had a role, but no one needed to be reminded of it. There was trust and there was precision. Seraphine reluctantly decided to accompany them. She had wanted to observe humans from a distance, but now she found herself swept into the mission. Curiosity, she admitted silently, outweighed caution. The exploration vessel Horizon lifted off the platform smoothly. Its engines hummed, casting reflections of the dying red star across the bay windows. Outside, the void stretched endlessly, silent and beautiful. Seraphine watched the stars slide past, each one a reminder of how far humanity had come. "Captain," she said, her voice calm but firm, "this journey is dangerous. You underestimate the storm." Elias smiled faintly. "We do not underestimate it. We prepare for it. That is what makes us human." The journey to the source of the distress signal was uneventful at first. The humans ran system checks, adjusted navigation, and communicated with nearby satellites. Seraphine marveled at how composed they remained, even as sensors detected fluctuations in the energy field surrounding the storm. Then the storm hit. At first, it was subtle. The ship shuddered slightly as electromagnetic waves rippled through the sensors. But within moments, the storm intensified. Energy pulses collided with the hull, sending vibrations across the metal frame. Red warning lights flashed, alarms blared, and the crew felt the pull of sudden turbulence. Seraphine's instincts screamed at her to panic. She had never experienced anything like this. She gripped a console for balance, eyes wide, but Captain Ward remained calm. He moved through the chaos with grace, issuing instructions clearly and quickly. "Engage stabilization protocols. Divert power to shields. Everyone stay focused." Humans moved as one. Systems that had failed were repaired in real time. Panels were reset, engines adjusted, and the ship's trajectory corrected. Seraphine watched in amazement. Not one of them faltered, not one of them panicked. Even the youngest engineers, who had never faced such a storm, followed Elias's guidance without hesitation. "This is impossible," Seraphine muttered to herself. No species could survive this without true warriors. Yet they were surviving, not because of brute strength, but because of coordination, courage, and unshakable focus. Hours passed. The storm intensified, whipping around them with unpredictable energy waves. Horizon's shields glowed red as they absorbed the storm's force. Seraphine, who had studied countless battles and disasters across the galaxy, had never witnessed humans handle danger with such calm. She began to see it clearly. Courage, she realized, was not the absence of fear. It was action in spite of it. The storm reached its peak. Lightning-like arcs of energy danced across the void, striking the ship's hull with tremendous force. Systems flickered and the main reactor began to overheat. The crew worked tirelessly, following Elias's instructions with precision. Then the unthinkable happened. The ship's primary stabilizer failed. Horizon began to spin uncontrollably, drifting closer to the storm's center. Seraphine's heart raced. "Emergency pods!" Elias called out, voice calm but commanding. "Everyone to the escape modules!" Her eyes widened. "Captain, you will stay," she demanded. Elias shook his head. "Someone must stay to stabilize the reactor. It is the only way for the rest to survive. Do not be foolish," Seraphine shouted. But even as she spoke, she saw the truth in his eyes. He was not fearless. He was aware of the danger, yet he chose to face it for the sake of others. The crew followed his instructions, moving swiftly into the escape pods. Seraphine hesitated, then moved to the command deck, unwilling to leave. She watched Elias work, hands precise as he manipulated controls, rerouting power and engaging emergency protocols. Sparks flew, systems overloaded, and the ship groaned under the storm's force. Hours seemed to pass like minutes. Seraphine assisted when she could, marveling at Elias's calm under pressure. His focus never wavered, even as the storm threatened to tear the ship apart. Finally, with a final adjustment to the reactor, the ship stabilized. Horizon floated in the void, battered but intact. The storm's intensity began to wane, retreating like a tide withdrawing from the shore. Seraphine exhaled, trembling. She had expected chaos, destruction, and fear. Instead, she had witnessed something entirely new. A human warrior. not one defined by brute strength or dominance, but by courage, intelligence, and an unyielding spirit. Elias turned to her, sweat on his brow, but eyes steady. "We're safe," he said simply. She shook her head, still in disbelief. "Safe? And yet you face certain destruction willingly." "Why?" he smiled faintly. "Because someone has to. Because we look out for each other. Because we never give up. That is what makes us strong." Seraphine felt a shift within herself, a deep, unshakable respect. Her log, which had once dismissed humans as incapable of true warriorhood, now demanded a new entry. Humans are not warriors in the conventional sense. Yet their courage, resolve, and willingness to face danger for the sake of others is extraordinary. Perhaps this is a strength no other species possesses. The storm faded completely by morning. Horizon, though scarred, remained functional. The crew emerged from the emergency pods, exhausted but alive. They greeted each other with quiet smiles, checking on injuries and equipment, speaking more of concern than of fear. Seraphine observed every moment. She could feel the bond among them, not one based on authority but on trust, respect, and shared experience. She had never known such unity among her people, despite centuries of disciplined training and careful governance. Later, as the crew conducted repairs, she walked beside Elias. He moved quietly, helping lift a fallen panel and guiding a young engineer to safety. She could no longer call him ordinary, not after the night of the storm, not after the courage he had shown. "You lead them," she said softly. "Without fear, without hesitation." Elias glanced at her. "Leadership isn't about fearlessness. It's about caring for those you are responsible for, and about doing what must be done even when it's hard." Seraphine nodded slowly. She had underestimated humans, all of them, not just Elias. They had survived a storm that would have destroyed many other civilizations, not through weapons or advanced technology alone, but through spirit, heart, and determination. As the sun of the dying red star rose over Eden 3, casting a soft copper glow across the outpost, she looked at the humans moving among the corridors, repairing, planning, preparing. They were tired, perhaps scared deep inside, but they never showed it. They carried on together. For the first time, Seraphine felt a sense of awe, not for the technology, not for the outpost, but for the people who inhabited it. Humans, she realized, were capable of more than she had ever imagined. And far beyond the outpost, the faint signal from the nearby colony pulsed again, waiting for them. Another challenge was coming, another test of courage, and this time she knew the humans would not hesitate, because she had seen it already, the quiet storm within them. The courage that was not loud or flashy, but steady, unyielding, and true. The courage of one human who had stood before her, calm and resolute, in the face of overwhelming danger. And she understood, finally, that the universe would never underestimate humans again, not while Captain Elias Ward walked among them. The storm had passed, but its lesson remained. And Seraphine, who had once believed humans had no warriors, now carried a new understanding. There was a power in their perseverance, a strength in their unity, and a force in their spirit that could not be measured by weapons, nor by size, nor by years of experience. The galaxy had much to learn from humans, and she intended to witness every step of it. The horizon glided silently through space, leaving behind the fading storm that had tested its crew's courage and skill. Yet the faint distress signal from the nearby colony pulsed insistently, like a heartbeat that could not be ignored. Captain Elias Ward sat in the command seat, eyes steady, reviewing the data from the outpost. Beside him, Seraphine Vera observed quietly, still grappling with what she had witnessed during the storm. Humans, she realized, were capable of a kind of bravery that did not rely on violence or power, but on heart, persistence, and the willingness to face danger for the sake of others. The colony came into view at last. It hovered near a rocky, uninhabited planet, its structures small but sturdy, designed to withstand the harsh conditions of deep space. Yet from orbit, Seraphine could already see the damage. One of the main energy towers had collapsed. Panels lay scattered across the ground, and the colony's lights flickered like a dying ember. Elias adjusted the ship's course, lowering it toward the colony's surface. "We have to help them," he said simply. "They are stranded and their systems are failing." Seraphine studied the scene carefully. She had anticipated chaos, perhaps panic, perhaps even resignation from the humans below. Instead, she saw something remarkable. Small groups of people moving calmly, communicating with hand signals, organizing rescue efforts, and tending to one another. Even with the disaster before them, they worked as a single unit, each person aware of their responsibilities, each step deliberate, each decision measured. The Horizon's landing was smooth. As the ramp lowered, Elias was the first to step onto the rocky surface. Seraphine followed, adjusting her robes to keep them from catching on jagged edges. The colony's residents looked up as the humans arrived. Some waved, others nodded with relief. The sight of help brought a quiet sense of hope to the weary colonists. Elias immediately organized a team. "We split into groups," he instructed, "and start stabilizing the colony's energy cores. Check for structural weaknesses. Rescue anyone trapped under debris. Safety comes first, efficiency second." Seraphine could not suppress a small smile. Here were humans, facing a potential disaster that could destroy their homes, yet they worked with focus and clarity rather than fear. And at the center of it all, Elias moved with calm authority, guiding them without shouting, leading without dominating. Hours passed, and the work was slow but steady. Panels were repaired, emergency power systems activated, and damaged communications restored. Seraphine observed the colonists as well, noting how they took initiative without needing constant guidance. Humans were not just surviving. They were thriving under pressure, each action a testament to their adaptability and spirit. During a brief pause, Seraphine found herself walking beside Elias. He was wiping sweat from his brow, his uniform dusted with debris, yet his posture remained upright, resolute. "You are extraordinary," she said quietly. "I have seen many species survive disasters. None with this." "Determination." Elias glanced at her with a faint smile. "It's not extraordinary. It's necessary. We protect each other, we endure. That is all any of us can do." She shook her head, a thought forming that she had not yet expressed aloud. "No, it is extraordinary because it is not required. You do it willingly, even at risk to yourselves." "That is what I did not understand." Elias's smile widened slightly, though his eyes remained calm. "Maybe that is what being human means. We choose to act even when fear is present. We choose to protect even when the odds are against us." Seraphine was silent, her thoughts heavy. She had believed humans to be fragile, incapable of true courage. Yet here, before her eyes, they demonstrated a strength far greater than any weapon could provide. It was the strength to endure, to protect, and to rise when faced with adversity. The calm, however, did not last. While inspecting the colony's main energy tower, the team detected unusual readings. The faint signal that had first brought them here originated not from the colonists, but from beneath the planet's surface. The energy was artificial, irregular, and increasing in intensity. Elias approached the console, analyzing the data. "This is not natural," he said. "Something beneath the surface is generating this energy. It's creating interference with the colony's systems. If we do not stop it, the colony could be in real danger." Seraphine's eyes widened. She had anticipated challenges, yes, but she had not expected a true test so soon. "Then we leave immediately and return to the ship," she suggested, cautious as always. Elias shook his head. "No. We need to understand what it is and deactivate it if possible. The colony cannot survive if we wait." Seraphine felt a mix of admiration and disbelief. Humans consistently faced danger head-on, not out of desire for glory, but out of responsibility and compassion. It was not reckless. It was deliberate, measured, and driven by principle. Descending into the rocky caverns below the colony required careful maneuvering. The tunnels were narrow and the walls pulsed faintly with energy from the mysterious source. The closer they moved, the stronger the readings became. Seraphine felt the hum through the soles of her feet, a vibration that resonated with the ship's sensors and instruments. "Stay close," Elias instructed. "Follow my lead and trust your instincts." The group pressed onward, moving silently but with focus. Seraphine noticed how each member contributed, offering suggestions, adjusting equipment, and providing reassurance to one another. Humans were not soldiers, but in this moment, they operated with the precision of a finely tuned unit. Finally, they arrived at a chamber deep beneath the surface. There, embedded in the stone, was an ancient device, metallic and alien, with glowing conduits that pulsed like a heartbeat. Its energy radiated outward, causing interference and destabilizing the colony above. Seraphine stepped closer, her curiosity outweighing her caution. "What is it?" she asked. Elias examined the device. It's sending energy into the colony's systems. If we don't stop it, the outpost could fail completely. The device seemed to hum with life, yet it offered no immediate threat beyond its interference. Still, it required careful handling. One wrong move could trigger a chain reaction that might destabilize the surrounding rock. Elias turned to his team. We need to deactivate it carefully. Everyone knows their role. Precision is essential. The humans moved methodically, each step calculated, each action deliberate. Seraphine assisted where she could, yet she was in awe of their composure. Even as the device pulsed unpredictably, they did not hesitate, they did not argue, and they did not show fear. Hours passed as they worked, adjusting conduits, rerouting power, and carefully disabling the ancient system. Seraphine realized something profound. Courage was not the absence of fear. It was acting with purpose despite it. Humans were not reckless. They were resolute. Finally, with a coordinated effort, the device powered down. The chamber quieted and the vibrations ceased. The energy readings normalized, and above, the colony system stabilized. Elias exhaled, relief washing over him, though his expression remained composed. "It's done," he said softly. Seraphine looked at him, unable to contain her awe. "You risked your life," she said. "And the others, too, for what? These humans you barely knew?" Elias's gaze was steady. "Because it is right. Because they needed help. Because that is what humans do. We stand for each other even when no one asks us to." For the first time, Seraphine understood fully. She had thought warriors were defined by strength or weapons, by conquest or battle. But here, in this quiet chamber beneath the colony, she saw a new kind of warrior. One defined by courage, compassion, and determination. She felt a deep respect growing within her. Her log, once dismissive of humans, demanded a new entry. Humans are not warriors in the traditional sense. Yet their courage, their care for one another, and their willingness to face danger for the good of others is more formidable than any army I have known. They are warriors of spirit, and Captain Elias Ward embodies that strength. As they emerged from the chamber, the colony lights flickered back to full brightness. The humans of Eden 3 and the nearby colony gathered, exchanging smiles, reassurances, and thanks. Seraphine observed quietly, her perspective forever changed. She followed Elias back to the horizon, walking beside him along the rocky surface. "You teach them without demanding obedience," she said. "And yet they follow you willingly. How do you inspire such trust?" Elias smiled faintly. "I don't inspire. I show them what needs to be done, and we do it together. Trust grows from shared effort, not from orders. That is what makes humans strong." Seraphine reflected on his words. Her people ruled through authority, control, and expectation. Humans thrived through cooperation, empathy, and courage. She felt a stirring of admiration, humility, and curiosity all at once. As the horizon lifted from the colony, leaving behind a world that was safer thanks to human determination, Seraphine gazed at the stars. She had witnessed courage in its purest form, quiet, steady, and unyielding. And she knew this was only the beginning. The universe would test these humans again, she thought, and they would rise. Not because they sought glory or recognition, but because it was in their nature to protect, endure, and stand. And she would be there to witness it. The calm that followed the deactivation of the underground device was short-lived. As the horizon hovered above the rocky surface of the colony, the crew noticed a new disturbance, energy readings spiking beneath the planet's crust. This was not a simple malfunction like before. The readings suggested a massive ancient machine still pulsing with power, deep in the caverns below. Seraphine Vera's eyes narrowed. She had seen human courage in action, but she knew instinctively that this challenge was far greater than the last. This was not just a test of skill or precision, it was a test of endurance, strategy, and heart. Elias Ward reviewed the data, his expression calm yet thoughtful. "The energy is unstable," he said. "If we do not shut it down, it could trigger a catastrophic collapse of the entire surface. The colony could be destroyed." Seraphine stepped closer, her gaze sharp. "Then you must leave immediately and evacuate the colony. Return to the horizon." "This is beyond your capabilities." Elias shook his head. "No, the colony cannot survive without intervention. We cannot abandon them. We have to go deeper." Seraphine felt a surge of respect. Humans, she realized, never counted the cost to themselves when others were in danger. Elias's choice was not reckless. It was deliberate, and it demanded courage beyond her comprehension. The team prepared for descent. Protective suits fitted, equipment secured, and tools ready. They entered the rocky tunnels once more. The caverns were narrow, jagged, and dark, lit only by their portable lamps and the faint pulse of energy emanating from the ancient machine. As they moved deeper, the vibrations beneath their feet grew stronger. The walls seemed to hum, as if the planet itself was alive with anticipation. The readings indicated that the machine's energy was increasing, and it would only be a matter of time before it affected the surface. "Stay close," Elias instructed. "Follow the signals carefully. Do not rush and do not panic." The humans moved as a single unit, each step measured, each action deliberate. Seraphine followed closely, astonished by their coordination. They were not trained soldiers, yet they operated like one, relying on trust, observation, and instinct rather than brute force. Finally, they arrived at the chamber where the ancient machine stood. Unlike the device they had deactivated before, this one was massive. Metallic conduits twisted around it like vines, glowing faintly with energy. The hum it emitted resonated through the chamber, vibrating in their chests and making the air shimmer. "This is enormous," Seraphine whispered, unable to hide her awe. "It has the potential to destroy everything above." Elias nodded, scanning the controls and energy flows. "Yes, and someone must remain here to stabilize it while the others shut it down remotely. Otherwise the surface will be in danger." Seraphine's heart quickened. She had anticipated this moment, the ultimate test of human bravery. "I will stay," she said firmly. "You are needed on the surface. I am trained for this." Elias shook his head, his calm expression unwavering. "No, this is your decision, but it is not yours alone. A leader stands last, not first. I cannot let you risk yourself for me." Seraphine's eyes widened. "You would stay yourself?" He nodded. "I cannot abandon my crew or the colonists. We act together. Someone must take responsibility, but it cannot always be me alone. That is leadership. That is humanity." She hesitated, realizing the weight of the moment. Staying meant risking everything. Leaving meant abandoning the humans she had begun to admire. Yet she looked at Elias, steady, resolute, unflinching, and understood the truth. Humans drew courage not from fearlessness but from duty, from responsibility, from the care they held for others. With a deep breath, she stepped forward. "Then we go together," she said. Elias nodded, a faint smile crossing his face. "Agreed, we face this as one." The team split into two groups. One would attempt to deactivate the machine remotely from a safe distance, using auxiliary controls Elias had located. The other, Elias and Seraphine, would enter the core chamber, manually stabilizing the energy conduits while guiding the remote team. The descent into the core was tense. Energy arcs leapt unpredictably along the walls, sending sparks across the chamber floor. The air vibrated with force, making every step a careful calculation, yet Elias and Seraphine moved steadily, their movements synchronized, each trusting the other implicitly. "Careful with that conduit," Seraphine warned. "A misstep could destabilize the entire system." Elias adjusted the energy regulators, his hands steadied despite the vibrations. "We move slowly, deliberately. Focus is our greatest weapon." Hours passed. Sweat dripped from their brows and their muscles ached from constant adjustment and recalibration. Yet neither wavered. Seraphine realized something profound. Courage was endurance, patience, and concentration as much as action. Elias embodied that in every gesture, every decision, every calm word amidst chaos. Suddenly, a surge of energy shot from the machine, threatening to overwhelm the chamber. Seraphine shouted a warning, and both she and Elias braced against the pulse. The remote team responded instantly, rerouting power and stabilizing the conduits. "Almost there," Elias said, voice calm but intense. "One more adjustment." With precise coordination, the final conduit was realigned, the energy flow stabilized, and the hum of the machine softened. The chamber lights dimmed as the threat dissipated. Both Seraphine and Elias exhaled, realizing they had succeeded, yet the relief was fleeting. The vibrations beneath their feet suggested the machine had a fail-safe, one last surge that could trigger if the system failed to remain stable. They would need constant attention until the colony's surface systems could absorb the residual energy. Seraphine looked at Elias, admiration shining in her eyes. You inspire humans to act, and yet you risk yourself equally." "Why?" He smiled faintly. Because someone must. Because we care. Because we do not turn away. That is the true measure of a warrior. Not dominance, not strength, not skill, but the courage to act when it matters most. Seraphine felt a shift within herself. She had believed warriors were defined by power and authority. Yet here she had seen a human warrior, quiet, selfless, and steadfast. She had seen it in Elias, and she understood now that humans could possess a strength that transcended physical might or technology. The core chamber began to stabilize fully. The energy readings normalized, and the threat to the colony above diminished. The remote team reported success from their positions, confirming that the surface systems were safe. Seraphine allowed herself a moment to step back, catching her breath and reflecting. She had witnessed courage and determination unlike anything she had seen before. Humans, she realized, were not defined by their lack of conventional weapons or combat training. Their greatest power lay in resilience, compassion, and the willingness to face fear for the good of others. "Elias," she said quietly, "you have shown me what it truly means to be a warrior." He looked at her, his expression calm but kind. "We all have the potential. Courage is not reserved for the strong or the mighty. It is in every choice to protect, to endure, and to act when others cannot." Seraphine's log that night reflected her transformation. Humans are not warriors in the traditional sense. Yet their courage, selflessness, and perseverance surpass what many species claim as strength. Captain Elias Ward exemplifies the spirit of humanity, one who acts for others, faces danger willingly, and inspires those around him. The chamber grew quiet. The energy pulses faded to a steady hum, the air still and calm. Seraphine watched Elias guide the final checks, ensuring every system remained stable. She realized that this moment, the choice to act despite risk, the unity, the courage, and was the defining trait of humanity. As they ascended back toward the surface, the colony lights flickered on fully, illuminating the rocky landscape. The humans above cheered softly, seeing their friends and rescuers emerge safely. Seraphine felt a profound sense of respect and awe. She turned to Elias. "I misjudged your species," she admitted softly. "I believed humans had no warriors." Elias's smile was calm, humble. "And yet here we are. We stand even when we are afraid. That is all any of us can do." Seraphine nodded. She had witnessed the true heart of a human warrior, quiet, persistent, selfless, and unyielding. It was a strength beyond measure, a force that could endure storms, disasters, and the tests of the universe itself. And she knew, without a doubt, that the lesson she had learned would remain with her forever. Humanity's courage was not measured in battles won or enemies defeated. It was measured in hearts willing to stand, hands willing to help, and spirits refusing to yield. The horizon lifted from the planet once more, carrying its crew safely into orbit. Seraphine gazed down at the colony, bathed in the warm light of the surviving sun. Humans had faced another test, and they had emerged victorious, not through power or domination, but through heart, unity, and unshakable courage. The universe, she thought, had much to learn from them, and she would be there to witness every challenge they would face, every obstacle they would overcome, and every choice they would make that defined them as true warriors. The horizon floated gently above Eden 3, its engines humming softly as the last rays of the dying red star painted the colony below in warm, copper light. After days of storms, underground machines, and life-threatening energy surges, the colony was finally stable. The humans had endured challenges that could have destroyed them, and they had emerged stronger, unified, and alive. Seraphine Vera stood on the observation deck of the horizon, gazing down at the colony. Her mind raced, replaying the events that had unfolded. Captain Elias Ward had led his team through dangers most civilizations would have avoided. He had faced energy surges, unpredictable machines, and physical strain with a calm determination that had both challenged and inspired her. She remembered her earlier assumptions, that humans were fragile, that they lacked courage, and realized how completely wrong she had been. "Seraphine," Elias said softly, joining her at the observation deck. "Are you ready to return to the colony?" She turned, studying him. He looked calm yet tired, his uniform marked with dust and scratches from the challenges below. But what struck her most was the unwavering calm in his eyes, the quiet confidence that came not from belief in invincibility, but from knowing the importance of responsibility. I think I understand now, she admitted. You are not what I expected. You are more. Elias smiled faintly. More than what you expected? Perhaps, but I am not alone. Every human who worked alongside me, who faced the storm and the machine, shared the same strength. That is what makes us human. Seraphine reflected on the words. She had observed courage many times in her life, among the Aelari across the galaxies and in countless conflicts. But she had never seen courage expressed like this. It was not about power, weapons, or dominance. It was about caring, enduring, and standing firm when others might flee. As they descended to the colony, the humans below gathered around, offering quiet cheers and smiles. The energy systems were fully restored, the building stable, and the residents safe. Children ran to meet their parents and friends. Adults exchanged relieved smiles, and the entire colony exuded a sense of pride and accomplishment. Seraphine felt a profound admiration swell inside her. These humans had faced dangers beyond her expectation, yet they remained compassionate, methodical, and united. She turned to Elias. Your people, she began hesitant. They are remarkable. Each of them contributed, each of them cared. This is what makes humans strong? Elias nodded. Strength is not measured by size, weaponry, or conquest. It is measured by endurance, by courage, and by care for others. We act when it matters for those who cannot act for themselves. That is how we survive, and that is how we grow stronger together. Seraphine considered his words carefully. She had underestimated humans at every turn. She had believed that without weapons and traditional training, they could never be warriors. But now she realized that true warriors were not defined by violence or intimidation. They were defined by heart, spirit, and the choice to act despite fear. Later, the Union of Galactic Species arrived at Eden 3. Word had spread of the humans' bravery, and Seraphine was asked to give a report to the Council of Worlds. The Grand Chamber was filled with representatives from countless planets, species known for their power, wisdom, and influence. Seraphine stepped forward, her robes shimmering softly in the light of the hall. I have witnessed humans in action, she began. For too long we have believed they were fragile, incapable of facing true danger. I have observed their technology, their adaptability, and their hearts. But more importantly, I have seen their courage, not the courage of conquest nor the courage of dominance, but the courage to act when it matters most, to protect, to endure, and to stand for others. Captain Elias Ward and his team have shown us what it truly means to be human. The hall was silent for a moment. Then slowly representatives began to nod in approval. Some whispered to one another, others scribbled notes, and a few smiled with respect. The Aelari ambassador, Seraphine's own people, watched with pride and humility. Elias Ward stepped forward, modest as always. We did what we had to do, he said quietly. It is not about heroism. It is about doing what is right even when it is difficult. That is what humans do. That is what we are. Seraphine's heart swelled. She had never witnessed such humility paired with such remarkable courage. Her log, once filled with skepticism, now recorded a revelation. Humans are warriors of spirit. Their courage is not defined by weapons or battle, but by heart, endurance, and selflessness. Captain Elias Ward exemplifies the very best of humanity, and I am honored to have witnessed it. As the ceremony concluded, Seraphine walked with Elias back to the horizon. The stars stretched endlessly around them, a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the challenges yet to come. She realized that humanity's true strength lay not in technology, nor in size, nor in dominance, but in the quiet courage to face the unknown with hope, heart, and unity. I misjudged your species, she admitted softly, almost to herself. I believed humans had no warriors. Elias looked at her, his eyes calm but kind. And yet here we are, he said. We stand even when we are afraid. That is all anyone can do. Seraphine smiled, feeling a warmth she had never experienced before. It was not pride nor satisfaction, but respect. Deep, profound, and unwavering. She realized that she would carry the lessons she had learned on Eden 3 for the rest of her life. Over the following weeks, Seraphine traveled with the horizon, witnessing humans interact with other species, explore uncharted worlds, and face new challenges. Everywhere she went, she observed the same qualities: courage, compassion, perseverance, and unity. Humans did not rely on fear or power to command respect. They earned it through actions, choices, and the strength of their hearts. The Aelari records, once filled with dismissive remarks about humans, began to change. Scholars and diplomats recorded tales of bravery, compassion, and ingenuity. Other species, once skeptical, began to see humanity not as fragile observers, but as capable partners, allies, and, when necessary, warriors of the spirit. One evening, Seraphine and Elias stood on the horizon's observation deck, watching a nebula unfold across the darkness of space. Its colors swirled in patterns that reminded them of Earth's oceans, its vastness both humbling and beautiful. "You have taught me much," Seraphine said quietly. "Not just about humans, but about courage itself." Elias smiled faintly. "And you have taught me that respect and understanding are equally important. Courage alone is not enough. It must be guided by wisdom and care." Seraphine nodded. "I will carry this lesson back to my people. They will see that humans are not to be underestimated, that our universe is stronger when we recognize the courage in each other." Elias looked toward the stars. "Humans will continue to face challenges. We will make mistakes. But we will always rise. That is who we are." The horizon sailed through the night, carrying its crew forward into unknown worlds. Seraphine felt a quiet determination settle in her heart. She had once believed humans had no warriors. Now she knew better. And somewhere in the vast expanse of the galaxy, the lesson of Eden 3 would ripple outward. Species that had once dismissed humans now saw them as partners, allies, and examples of courage in action. The story of Captain Elias Ward and his crew would inspire generations, showing that true strength is not measured in weapons or power but in heart, unity, and the courage to stand when it matters most. Seraphine looked at Elias, his calm gaze reflecting determination, humility, and hope. She knew that wherever humans went, they would face challenges, yet they would meet them with bravery, not because they were invincible, but because they chose to stand together, to act for one another, and to endure even in the darkest moments. For the first time, she bowed her head in quiet admiration, acknowledging not just one human warrior, but an entire species capable of extraordinary courage. She had learned the truth. Humans were warriors. Warriors of heart, spirit, and determination. And Captain Elias Ward had shown her exactly what that meant. As the horizon sailed further into the galaxy, carrying the hope and resilience of humanity, Seraphine whispered softly, "If ever the stars grow cold and the galaxies forget courage, look to the humans. For when all others falter, one of them will stand." And somewhere deep in the cosmos, a new chapter began, one of respect, alliance, and the unwavering courage of the human spirit.